welcome back to Twin Formula One, where we break down the stories behind the speed. And today we're diving into the second Bahrain pre-season test from the 18th to the 20th of February. 3 days, 11 teams and a whole lot of clues, but a lot of mystery. Because let's be honest, testing never gives us the full picture. Some teams sandbag, some chase headlines, some hide their true pace, and some can't hide the problems even if they try. And with the first race of the season coming up in Australia, the big question is, who actually is on top, who's struggling, and how much of this test can we trust? Let's get into it. The big picture. Bahrain gave us 3 days of long runs, quali sims, reliability checks, and a few eyebrow raising moments. The track conditions were stable, the wind wasn't too chaotic, and the teams had enough time to show at least something. But remember, fuel loads unknown, engine modes unknown, tyre programs unknown. So what we're looking at is patterns, not absolute truths. Still, patterns matter, and some teams look very confident. Before we break down the pecking order, let's quickly talk about the 2026 grid, because this year we've got 11 teams with Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Williams, RB, Haas, Aston Martin, Alpine, Audi and Cadillac. That's a lot of competition, and Bahrain gave us our first real look at how they stack up. Who looked strongest? Well, Red Bull came into Bahrain with a car that looked planted, predictable and fast. Long runs were smooth, tyre degradation was low, and the balance looked stable across all 3 days. Big story, they didn't even look like they were pushing. If they were hiding pace, and they usually do, then the rest of the field should be nervous. The RB chassis still look like the class of the field, and the aero efficiency is miles ahead. But there were small hints of rear instability on low fuel runs. Nothing dramatic, but enough to make you wonder if the gap is closing. Ferrari, probably the closest threat. Ferrari test was surprisingly clean, no major reliability issues, consistent long runs, and a car that looks much easier to drive than last year. 1 lap pace looked sharp, maybe the sharpest of the test, but Ferrari always runs lighter in testing. Still, the tyre wear improvements were real. The car isn't chewing through the rears like it used to. If anyone is close to Red Bull right now, it's Ferrari. McLaren were quite a bit dangerous. McLaren didn't chase headlines, they didn't top many sessions, but their car looked solid, very stable mid-corner, very predictable on traction, and the long run pace was right there with Ferrari. The only concern, they still seem to struggle in slow corners. Bahrain exposes that weakness, but overall McLaren look like a team ready to fight for podiums from race 1. The midfield battle starts off with Mercedes. They're better, but still a question mark. Mercedes show flashes of speed, but the car still looks tricky. The rear end snaps under load, and the drivers didn't look fully confident. The long run pace wasn't bad, but it wasn't top 3 level either. They're in the mix, but I'm not entirely sure how their season's going to go. They should have an advantage with the new engine. It's a big unknown. Are they hiding a quali mode, or is this generally where they stand? Aston Martin, solid but not spectacular. Aston Martin had a clean test, but the car didn't look like a big step forward. Good traction, good tyre life, but lacking top end speed. They're not in trouble, but they're not leading the midfield either. Alpine, confusing but not hopeless. Alpine's test was weird. The car looked slow on the straights, but decent in the corners. Their long runs were okay, but nothing special. They're not at the bottom, but they're not threatening the top 5. RB was the surprise of the midfield. RB looked fast, much faster than last year. The car is stable, the aero package looks strong, and the drivers seem comfortable. They could be the dark horse of the midfield, maybe even challenging top 5. Williams, some promise, some problems. Williams showed decent straight line speed, but the car still looks unstable in high speed corners. Reliability wasn't perfect either. They're not dead last, but they're not out of the woods. Audi didn't show much pace. The car looked heavy, slow on turning and lacking grip, but reliability was good and they completed a ton of laps. They're building for the future, not fighting for points straight away. Haas, it was better than expected. Haas actually looked more stable than last year. The car isn't fast, but it's predictable. They might steal points early in the season if others slip up. And Cadillac, the new kid's learning fast. Andretti had a respectable first test. The car isn't fast, but it's reliable, and the team looks organised. They're not ready to fight the midfield yet, but they're not embarrassingly slow either. What does this mean for Australia? And here's the truth, we still don't know. Testing gives us hints, not answers. Some teams hide pace, some teams chase glory runs, some teams run heavy fuel all week, but based on Bahrain, the early pecking order looks something like this. You have the top four with Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes, and I would say that you can change them around in whatever order you like. In the midfield, Williams, RB and Haas, and the lower pack, Aston Martin, Alpine, Audi and Cadillac. But remember, Australia is completely different track, cooler temperatures, different tyre demands and a layout that rewards stability and traction. Testing tells us who's comfortable, Australia tells us who's fast. So here's quick graphics just to show who set the fastest times over the Bahrain test and what days they did it in. Obviously this doesn't really mean anything because Australia is going to determine what is going on there. We've also got another graphic that shows how many laps each team has produced and who produced the fewest, and it gives a suggestion of who might be struggling. We'll see. Come Australia. So that's the story from Bahrain. 3 days of data, drama and just enough mystery to keep us guessing. Red Bull looked strong, Ferrari looked hungry, McLaren looked ready, and the midfield looks like a war zone. But the only thing we know for sure is this: Australia is going to be wild. It's a new season, new regulations, new everything. It's going to be really exciting. So if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to Twin Formula 1 and let me know in the comments who do you think is actually fastest heading into this first race. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.